Welcome back to When Bad Things Happen to Good People, a podcast about censorship and the arts. My name's Todd Sullivan. Joining me once again is Peter Aman.
Hello, hello.
And once again, we have special guest star Ayla Aman.
Hello.
And today we are covering the further adventures of Charlie and Nick as we talk about Volume 2 of Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. Welcome back, you guys.
Well, it's good to be back. Ayla, how about you?
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
More Nick and Charlie.
I am so excited to talk about this volume. Have you guys been?
Well, I've been pretty good. We didn't have these books before. We were just renting them from the library. So we actually went out 2 chapters and got the whole set of books. So now
Very nice.
I'm super happy about that. So
so now we're set. We're ready to read the whole thing, and then Ayla's really looking forward to the next one, book 5, coming out in I think December in Canada, right?
yeah, most likely December for Canada. November is when it actually gets released, but that's mostly in the UK. So
Yeah, we'll have to. We're planning on covering the first 3 here, and then we'll have to reconvene sometime after Volume 6 comes out and cover, I guess, the next 3. No idea how long this series is planned to go for, but
it was originally planned to stop at Volume 5, and then it was announced that she'd do another 6th one. So I think that's most likely where it's gonna end.
Okay.
So if the machines haven't taken over by the time the 6th book comes out, we'll do another trilogy.
And even if they have taken over, perhaps they'll enjoy, a good solid queer love story, so they might allow it to continue.
They probably will more so than the far right.
For sure.
I mean, you gotta. She's done like 4 novels in like 2, maybe 3 years, I think, by now. This one is like end of 2020. So
her output is quick.
yeah. So hopefully, please, she'll have the 6th one done in like a year or 2.
Right on. Well, in the meantime, let's talk about Volume 2 of Heartstopper.
Let's do that. Before getting into the actual book itself, one of the things I'm noticing, having sort of read 2 of them now, is that it feels like there is definitely a focus for each book, right? And in the first one, it is the story of Nick kind of awakening to this idea that he might be more than just straight, that he may have feelings for this kid, Charlie, who's kind of been his best friend, but maybe he's beginning to think that there could be more than friendship there. Mm-hmm. And I think, by the end of Volume 1 and into the beginning of Volume 2, he's kind of come to terms with the fact that he feels something for Charlie. But Volume 2 is kind of about him, I think, processing his readiness to share that feeling with the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple facets there in the sense that he himself doesn't know where his sexuality falls within kind of the spectrum. So that, I think, is something that makes it a bit of a challenge for him to tell people or to
especially
kind
early
of come
on,
out, right?
Exactly. I don't know who I am, so I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a roadblock, but also I think still processing this from a relationship standpoint. I mean, he and Charlie haven't put any labels on anything, So this book, it starts right from the end of the last book where they share the kiss and they kind of part ways, and
it's like still that night.
Yeah,
almost.
so they're still kind of dealing with that fallout, and then how do they tell each other how they're feeling and that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think for Nick, he is figuring a lot of stuff out. He's definitely confused in the sense that this is very new, and he didn't have a good handle on it as he was developing feelings for Charlie, whereas Charlie has been quite sure of himself, as far as his sexuality, and he has been, out in public, not through his own volition, but he's been out as
He's
a
dealt
gay
with that
boy,
already.
and he's dealt with that, right? And he's confident in that, and his life is not going to change really anymore, whether he has a boyfriend or doesn't have a boyfriend, right? Whereas for Nick, it's kind of a big shift for him. The rugby lad who, has developed this, special relationship with Charlie and is kind of figuring out where he falls, right? The BuzzFeed quizzes and all that from the first book.
BuzzFeed quizzes are real, okay? I did those, okay? I'm pretty sure I've almost done like all the ones that are actually written in the book there on the little panel. She has like a little panel with a bunch of links, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've done at least 3 of these.
Right on.
And it's worth noting before we start talking about it as well that I have all of my notes are about plot points in the book, whereas Ayla's notes are apparently about just the moments that are the most
I
cute.
made no notes. I just put little sticky note tabs in it, and I was like, I'm just gonna note all the cute scenes.
Yeah.
It did not come to mind that I should know like what's important to the storyline. And I was like, I'll do another one where it's like maybe a little bit more serious topics, but that's it. And nothing like this is changing how the story goes.
No, but
Just
she
cute
will.
things.
She's sure to
Just
tell us
little
the
cute
cutest
moments.
moments. Yes,
Yep. Praise for the dimples.
exactly.
obviously.
Every time I see a dimple, I think of you now. Okay, so this is exactly. It starts in the immediate aftermath of sort of the kiss, and then Nick walking away, and so it's sort of they're stressing at night.
It's a rough night for Charlie,
Yeah.
and Nick swears a lot.
Nick swears a lot.
They-
okay.
Yeah,
removed-
he just kind of like thinks about things and says fuck. Thinks about things a little bit. Fuck. So Nick is clearly feeling like he didn't leave things ideal.
Yeah, and I have
either.
here that like Nick tries a couple of different texts to send to Charlie, and it's one of those moments again where it's like he tries one thing and then deletes it and tries another thing and he deletes it. Meanwhile, Charlie is like sort of hugging his whatever and like stressing out, imagining the things he said or shouldn't have said.
Charlie is canonly snuggling a teddy bear in the first panel, one of the first panels of the book. So,
and then the next morning, Charlie goes about, getting ready.
less than 2 hours of sleep is what he got.
Yeah, less than 2 hours of sleep. Which
Charlie had a rough night.
we've all been there when we're stressing out about the choices we've made that maybe felt bad. It's like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I stay up all night stressing about what I should have done differently. He's busy brushing his teeth, thinking about, what to do when there's a knock on the door. I think his mom yells at him to get it.
Yeah, she thinks it might be the mailman or something. So, hey, Charlie, go get the door.
It's the postman. They're British.
Right.
Postman.
And lo and behold, Charlie stumbles down in his PJs. His hair's a mess. And who is there but Nick?
Yeah.
And it's in the rain.
In the
too,
rain,
so-
because I feel like these sorts of scenes always take place in the rain, right?
It's got to be in the rain or else it's not romantic enough.
Exactly.
You got to wait for it to start raining. Okay?
Exactly.
sunny skies don't make for good romantic meeting.
And that is in my notes. Like these sorts of moments are always in the rain in these sorts of stories. So Charlie tries to apologize for what he did, sort of stammering and stumbling around his words, to the point where eventually Nick just sort of shuts him up by kissing him again.
Yeah, well, Nick can't seem to really get a word in edgewise. Charlie's just kind of ranting and raving about how he's sorry and he wishes that that he didn't do it, and he doesn't want to ruin their friendship. I think is what Charlie's real worry is there.
Totally, yeah.
And Nick kind of sets him at ease. They go in for the makeout.
They do.
Yeah.
Nick is still wearing his shoes inside. I thought that was just an American thing. Am I crazy? Am I crazy?
It's more American than Canadian. I don't know if it's English. That's a good question.
Yeah. Interesting.
Charlie isn't, but he just woke up, so I don't know. Also, I feel like he should have taken his shoes off. Like it's raining outside. Take your shoes off.
yeah.
It'd be
It was
definitely
Getting
raining
mud
shoes off.
all over my carpet, my hardwood. I'm just kidding.
God damn it, Nick. Have some manners.
Man, we were really starting to like Nick too, and now
Right,
it's
until he left puddles in the
Gone
room.
and ruined it. Now I gotta clean the floor again, man.
And then they have tea, which I pointed out because we were apparently really concerned about whether they had a cuppa last time.
Yeah, that was a concern, and now I don't know if Alice heard us. No,
Yeah, she retroactively changed volume
she
2 because of our
retconned the
last
book.
product.
Yeah.
And then they take their tea to the conservatory.
Well, and they're being all cutesy in the kitchen, and
Yes.
And Charlie's, sister who can appear at will.
Tori.
She's just
Tori.
kind of observing, right?
We love Tori. She takes a little sip. It's like, I know what's up.
Yeah, they're doing little like bum taps to each other there.
Yeah. And then they retire to the conservatory because
Yes.
they're clearly
No one really sits there in the morning.
No.
yeah, they're clearly upper
No, the
middle class.
conservatory is where we sit in the evening. We have a brandy and cigars in the
That's right.
conservatory. But it's safe in the morning to go and hang out and, with your secret gay almost boyfriend. So they're hanging out, and Nick asks Charlie how he knew he was gay. And Charlie sort of shares some stories, but basically kind of says he's always known, like right from an early age. His early crushes, his early kind of imaginary romances were all about boys. Nick has a different perspective because obviously he thought he liked girls.
Yeah.
But now,
And he feels like he still, like he did like the girls, but now he likes Charlie. So
yeah, and so he's not saying he doesn't like girls anymore.
Yeah.
He's just saying,
or that he likes guys. Just
Exactly,
that he
just
really
that he
likes
likes
Charlie.
Charlie.
So
It's only Charlie, guys. No one else.
no one else. So don't even try.
Other than Johnny Depp, obviously.
or Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean did something for him, man.
And that's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Okay.
But in the midst of this, Nick says, like, I liked girls, but now I like you. And Charlie's like, you like me?
Yeah, the surprise that these two have as they move into different stages in their relationship, like, oh, you like me? Oh, I like you. Like,
Yeah.
they're always surprised. Like they have no idea that the other person might
Yeah.
like them even a
Yeah.
little bit, even though they've been making out and spending so much time together.
Wait, we gotta give Charlie like the ops on this because he did like go out technically with Ben, but then Ben was the entire like, I don't actually like you. This is just like yada yada. We're not boyfriends. Like,
Sure, I get that, but I mean, they established a pretty close friendship first, Nick and Charlie, before really kind of getting to that point of kissing or that I like you in that kind of way,
Yeah.
right? So, but I think the fact that they're just always surprised, when they tell each other something, and they say it a few times in the book, like, why are we like this? Why can't?
Yeah, I know.
why can't-"
They say that.
They
at the end of the
understand.
sequence.
They see, kind of how their brains are working.
But I do feel like
it's
Charlie
interesting.
is maybe like, I can understand where he's coming from this time because, like, Nick kind of, the way Nick reacted to the kiss, he went home. He's gotten 2 hours of sleep. He's freaking out about all this. And even when Nick comes back and kisses him, it's still going to be like, what is happening? To sort of get
he
sort of
just
this.
woke up from like an hour and a half of sleep.
Yeah,
He does
and
not
so
know what's happening.
This kind of confession of I like you. That's more than just like I was drawn to kiss you this one time. It's like I like you. It is sort of like
Yeah.
really. It is a little bit weird when Nick is like, "Oh, you like me too." Well, of course he fucking set up an
that's
excuse to
pretty
kiss you
clearly,
last
yeah.
night. Shouldn't be that big a shocker. But they're both a little bit surprised.
To be fair, Nick is not quite as studious as Charlie, so we
Yeah,
can
Nick
forgive him.
Nick is kind of struggling his way through this experience.
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they kind of, I think, sorted out that they like each other, right? And why are we like this? And then they get to making out a little bit more. Nick talks about that he might be bisexual, but he's not sure.
Yeah.
And then Charlie's brother pops into the
Yes.
conservatory.
Oliver, we were robbed of Oliver. I need Oliver like in the show. Like I wish. I love Oliver so much.
Is there no Ollie in the show?
There's no Oliver in the show.
Oh, wow.
There's no. It's so she has this is kind of off topic, but still because it's Oliver. Alice Oseman on like Webtoon, she has like a little mini comic where they're like dressed for Halloween and Nick and Charlie dressed up as like I think it's like Doctor Who characters they are or something. I'm not sure. And they take Oliver trick-or-treating and he's like dressed like a pumpkin, I'm pretty sure. It's adorable. And it's colored too, so it's even more cute.
Oh, nice.
Right on. So Oliver catches them canoodling in the conservatory.
Yeah, because Charlie's like, no, we were just hugging.
Yeah, and he's like,
And-
"No, I
and
saw
then
your
Ollie's
lips
like,
touching."
I don't know, your lips were touching.
Yeah. So they make Oliver kind of keep it a secret, which he's cool with doing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Oliver's younger, but he must kind of remember a little bit of what Charlie went through in the previous year with the bullying and that kind of stuff.
Well, it seems like the whole family is pretty supportive of, who he is.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
And then Nick is on his way home, asks if Charlie's okay with keeping it a secret for a while. Charlie says yes. There's sort of an awkward moment between them at the doorway, and then Nick's like, oh, okay, bye. And then as he's walking home, there's the moment, Charlie chases him down in the rain.
Classic, like, rom-com moment.
Chases him down in the rain, and Nick's like, what's going on? Did I forget something? And then Charlie just gives him a big old kiss. Actually, first he looks left and right.
Yeah.
He's like,
gotta make sure no one can see us.
No one's watching
because keep it a secret.
We got to keep this a secret. But
it's got to be a romantic scene. So
nom nom nom.
Yeah. And this leaves Nick with a smile.
Yep.
He's pretty happy about it. So, and then they start kind of texting back and forth. So now they're, I mean, it's obviously not official. They haven't put labels on it, but this is the point where they've essentially entered into a full-on romantic relationship.
Yeah. And so on, we get to Monday where they're back to school, hanging around, being super friendly.
Before that,
is this before that?
Nick is watching videos on like YouTube or whatever on what bisexuality is. So he's doing a little research.
Oh
first.
yeah.
And then it's Monday, and they have the
I thought I wrote
classic
that down.
panel where they just both say hi. I tabbed that because that's like
Yes,
awesome.
Yeah.
so cute.
It's classic, so classic.
And this turns into a little bit of a montage of the week, right?
A little bit,
we got,
yes.
We got kind of Monday. They're hanging out. They're still friends, and they were good friends before kind of this party that has led to the kiss and then their conversation. But now they're kind of a little more stealing a few more moments. And so as we go through the week, it's Tuesday. They have a little thing. Wednesday they're playing rugby.
Yeah, he gets hurt.
And
Nick's like, "Oh, we're gonna take him to ice his knee."
That's right. Yeah, because
one of the
nobody
kids
else
is
could
like,
do that.
"Oh, it's a little bit," and then the teacher cuts him off.
We were kind of robbed of Christian, Sai, and like Otis. I'm pretty sure they're the rugby lads that are like actually kind of nice about it and like support them.
Yeah.
Like even though Nick hasn't come out, I think it might have been last novel or this one. I'm not sure, but there's a little panel where they're talking and they're like, I could see that. They would make a cute couple.
Yeah, that was in the first book.
Yeah.
There's so Charlie, obviously he's out and Nick's friends know all about that, but when they start kind of suspecting it in the first book, we have these three that are essentially identified as potentially supportive friends, because Nick does say a few different times like, oh, all my friends are crap or whatever, and I don't want to be friends with them, they don't understand. But I think we have, and I don't know what's happening in the other books, but we have three that are kind of identified as potential supports that Nick already knows and is friends with.
Yep.
So we'll see kind of how that develops, I guess. But yeah, in the show, we definitely don't see those characters. They're kind of, all the rugby lads are just, Harry's posse essentially.
Right. Okay.
We don't have any standouts. So, but so they get the ice pack after Charlie hurts his knee playing rugby, and they have a little conversation about playing it cool at school. And
yeah, Charlie is clear to point out, like, it's okay if we don't hang out so much. We're not like constantly together.
And then Nick goes and kisses him in the locker room.
Yeah.
So it was the entire thing.
I'll tell you, the first time I was reading it, I was expecting someone to come wandering in at that moment.
Yeah. Well, I think, isn't there? Oh, in the show, someone.
In the show, Isaac comes in, like, either right before, like right after they share like a little moment, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, teacher wanted me to give you some like rubbing alcohol pads or whatever." So, tee.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we get to Thursday. They're just kind of hanging out in the park, laying in the grass and talking still about, so Nick's still figuring out.
Nick's just looked up bisexuality and says that might describe him, but he's not sure.
And Charlie tells him it's okay. He doesn't need to figure it out, and he doesn't even need to think about it. But Nick's like, that's all I'm thinking about right now. I'm trying to figure it out, which is cool. He's working on it.
And then they go to have a kiss, but then somebody is walking by, and so Nick sort of gets nervous and pulls away, and apologizes. And Charlie's like, "No, don't even worry about it. It's like, take your time."
Yeah, I mean, Charlie's obviously been through this, but I think, and I don't know if we find out right away, but Nick clearly has in the back of his mind how Charlie was hurt by Ben about the secret thing. And
Yeah, that's a fair point that he
Right.
doesn't want to do that.
yeah, and I think it does come up later in the book that, he goes, I didn't want to be like Ben.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's actually shown in the book. It's definitely shown in the show, but I don't know if it's as a thing as it is in the show as it is in the books. I think
It might be less so in
just-
the book,
yeah, it's
but
just part of a
he does at
conversation.
one point say that he didn't want to be Ben, because I have that in my notes as well.
And then they play frisbee with Nellie, and it all turns out well. So
Yes.
obviously, Nellie fixes everyone's problems. Honestly,
Friday is a very brief conversation where Charlie announces his birthday's coming up and invites Nick to his birthday party on Tuesday.
The
On
birthday party is
which
Saturday,
is the next day.
but his birthday is actually on Tuesday.
Oh, well, that's my confusion. So they went to the bowling alley on Saturday then?
Yeah.
Oh, my notes are all fucked up then. I'm so confused.
Well, because when they're at the bowling alley, it comes up a few different times that his birthday's actually Tuesday, and not the Saturday.
Okay, well, I was only flipping through the book very quickly when I did my notes
Yeah.
today, so don't hold that against me.
No, fair enough. And that, so Nick shows up. I guess it's Saturday now.
Yeah.
Nick shows up to the birthday party. They exchange greetings, and Nick's like, "Oh, am I the first one here?" And Charlie's like, "No, you're last one here, man.
Yeah.
We're all over on lane 7. Come on."
And so Nick and us get to meet a bunch of Charlie's friends. We have Tao, who is essentially described as rude.
Rude, but mostly just to rugby lads.
Right,
so.
right. We have Aled, who's shy,
But nice.
and Elle, who's trans.
We love Elle. Transferred to Higgs.
Exactly. And my favorite part about this whole sort of sequence is what a cool, positive, accepting group of people this is. And
Well, and in both sides, including Nick coming into this.
well,
as
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. That's what I mean. Like, these are just really cool people who don't care who you are. Like, they're just accepting of you. And I, sort of secretly hope that everyone out there who feels like a kind of an outsider, it manages to find a group like that. Because in high school, I very much did. Not sort of the same, but I was an outsider in my own way. And I was lucky enough to find a group that accepted me as I was, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing here is that clearly, it's a diverse group.
Yeah.
As diverse as you can get for British lads in Brighton or wherever they are, and they they're not judgmental, but they're all dealing with their own kind of stuff. In the sense of we've got the trans girl, we've got Nick who's figuring stuff out, Charlie who's been out for a while, Aled who we don't really know too much about, but is kind of the shy, quiet kid, and they're all kind of, they've all got different things going on, but they come together and they're whether they're united by that or just out of being actually decent kids, they form this pretty supportive group. And even Tao, who his rudeness is essentially built on his need to protect people, right? Like that's really his motivation, is he wants to protect Charlie from being
That is
hurt
true, yeah.
by Nick, right? So it's not that he's necessarily kind of rude or an angry kid or anything like that. He's just, his motivations are built on that need to protect his friends. And so, it's that kind of white knight or, that kind of mentality really more than being rude. But yeah, a really neat group of kids. And, I think that acceptance and that kind of nonchalance, I guess, of finding out this, no big deal. It's no big deal that somebody's this way or that way or figuring stuff out, right?
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And speaking of that, over the course of the bowling game, Tao sort of notices Charlie is continuing to be kind of extra friendly or a little bit flirty with Nick. And so
And vice versa. Nick is flirty
that's
with,
fair.
with
Yeah.
Charlie as well.
With the strong rugby arms.
The strong rugby
rugby
arms. Yes,
That's-
exactly.
That's what gets to him, man.
And so
Who brought the guns to the bowling alley, Nick?
So yeah, it's not. This isn't. What do you think? This is America. You can't bring guns like this to the bowling alley. So when Charlie goes to the bathroom, Tao sort of follows him in there to say, like, "Dude, settle down with."
Yeah, well,
the guy. He's
that
not-
whole looking out for his friend.
Yeah,
thing,
because Charlie and Nick are keeping this whole situation secret. So what everybody else is seeing is Charlie continuing to kind of have this in their minds, unattainable crush in this perfectly straight rugby lad that's never going to go anywhere. And they're just like, man, stop.
Well, and the other thing here is that as nice as Nick is in general, they still believe, or at least Tao certainly does, that Nick is just being friendly with Charlie for a laugh, right? That
Yeah,
you know,
fair,
in all other aspects, he comes off as like a pretty well-adjusted, accepting, friendly guy. But somehow he has, the secret plan to, put Charlie on and whatever nefarious purpose he has to lead him on and to some end where he exposes him or whatever. That's what Tao's thinking. But realistically, I mean, every other aspect of Nick, he's just being a nice guy, right? So it's weird that Tao is so suspicious of it. But, as far as the things that people hear in the school about Nick liking girls and, I guess he has some, cause to maybe believe that Nick might, be straight and be leading.
No,
Charlie
exactly.
on,
And that's
right?
the thing is like, you do want to, whether it's a gay kid attracted to a straight kid or, a straight kid attracted to, a girl who's supposedly way too hot for him. You have those friends who are like, this isn't going to work out. You really need to lower your expectations.
Lower your expectations. Right? That's right.
And Charlie can't respond to him and say like, no, it's really okay because we're kind of together because they're trying to keep it a secret. So he's got to kind of dodge that thing. And Nick, who goes up to sort of order a food or beverage at the bowling alley,
has to go get his chips.
Yeah, there you go. Got to have chips in England. Manages to hear this conversation through the bathroom door. And you can see like there's a weight on him now that he's kind of, his decision to try to keep things a secret is having an impact on Charlie. There's a weight on Charlie's shoulders that I think Nick feels bad about.
Well, and also I think Nick sees, because Charlie handles this conversation with Tao really, really well and delicately. Doesn't let anything out of the bag about him and Nick, while still kind of placating Tao a little bit that, he's going to be careful, but Nick's a good guy and, just get to know him, that kind of thing. And when Charlie comes out of the bathroom, Nick is there and gives him a big hug, and he's like, what was that for? And he says, I'll tell you later. And it's because he was so not proud per se, but happy that, even though Charlie couldn't necessarily say the things that he wanted to say, he still stuck up for Nick, to his friend.
I felt to an extent though that hug was a bit of an apology too. Like, I'm so sorry that
You had to
I'm
go
putting
through
you
that.
through this. But he didn't want to actually say that out loud. But that hug was a reaction of what he was feeling, some sense of the guilt he was feeling over it.
All right. So match number 2 at the bowling alley. Elle wins the match, finally. She was so close in the first game, but Nick took it. And her and Tao are, they're kind of teasing each other a little bit, so everyone in the group can kind of see that maybe they like each other a little bit.
I think Charlie mentioned that too, that Tao might have liked Elle.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think everyone is starting to take off here. It's kind of the end of the party, right?
It ends up down to Nick and Charlie as Charlie waits for his dad to come. They sort of grab a table. I don't know if that's at the bowling alley or if it's like a nearby diner.
I'm pretty sure it's like the bowling alley has like a little
table
diner area.
Yep.
So.
And Nick gives Charlie the present that he made for him, which is a framed picture of the two of them and Nellie.
During the snow day.
During the
we
snow
love
day.
Nellie. We love them. Oh, such a cute photo with a handmade frame by Nick.
And Charlie's like,
Well, I think he just decorated the frame. I don't
Well,
think he made the frame, but
Okay.
it counts. It counts. And Charlie's like, oh my God, I want to kiss you so bad right now. And
Nick's like, good thing they have oversized menus here.
right. So they pop up the menu. They have they sneak a little kiss behind the menu. They hold hands for a moment, and I'm sure that this is maybe tagged as a cute moment because I thought it was pretty adorable.
I actually didn't get a tab here because I just tabbed like the whole scene. Like,
oh, there you go. Exactly.
I put
yeah.
a tab like when they first started talking, and I was just like, this is gonna just encompass their entire scene talking because all of it is cute.
Yeah.
Well, and then this is where Nick relays that he overheard
Yes.
him and Tao talking in the bathroom, and that he's sorry. And I think this is where he says that
he's afraid of treating Charlie like Ben did.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Taking advantage of him.
And Charlie kind of sets his mind at ease, saying, you're nothing like him, and that the situation's different, and
And Nick also says like he feels bad that he wasn't more helpful to Charlie when Charlie was being bullied.
Yeah.
And as much as Charlie was like, well, you didn't even know me then.
Yeah.
I think Nick is sort of coming from the perspective of maybe, but I just sort of wish I was a better person in general who would have stepped up for someone like you.
Yeah. And then there's a neat line there where it gets echoed in the TV show as well. There's this neat line about Nick saying, I wish I hadn't, known then what I know now. Right. Which encompasses both, how hard things were on Charlie, as well as all the things that he's been going through in the last little while about, sexuality and how to figure things out and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's, Nick's really come a long way in a short amount of time in terms of, he's not maybe there yet, but he's certainly figuring a lot of things out fairly quickly here.
And then it's May, right? 2.5 weeks later.
Yep.
Nick is late for school. He's like hurrying through the hallways, finishing up his math homework. Bumps into Charlie, who is helping out the school orchestra. They're doing a crossover concert thing with the girls' school.
They're doing a little like rehearsal for the spring concert, which is both Truham and Higgs.
Yes, the two schools.
And he gets called in as like the pinch drummer, I
Yes.
guess. Like they're like, hey, we need a drummer.
Yeah, I've never heard of an orchestra band with like a drummer, like a full-on drum set.
Yeah. There's plenty of schools that have.
Is there?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Like you mean a school band with a drummer?
Yeah, like an orchestra type band, like violins and flutes, clarinets. I don't know.
Well, you'd have maybe not a drum kit necessarily, but you still have some kind of percussion.
Yeah, but I mean, there's lots of school,
but most
orchestra
school
bands that will have like a maybe not a full drum kit, but they'll because it's quite a bit to have a full percussion section versus one kid with a small drum kit.
True, but like when I was in high school, our band we didn't have violins, but we had like your typical school band with like the woodwinds and the brass. We had trombones, trumpets, saxophones, clarinets, flute, and we had a drum kit. But also we had a pretty major percussion section. So we had like timpanis and we had a big bass drum.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. I mean, we just had a kid with a drum kit.
Oh, really? Yeah.
For our band, yeah.
I'm pretty sure my school has like the whole shebang. Like I'm pretty sure we have like violins, we have clarinets, we have flutes, we have percussion instruments, we have like all the wood instruments. He has a drum set. I don't know if it's used for the orchestra, but he has like, I think maybe even two, because there's like a back room at our school where people can go to like practice. And he has like one in the middle of the room and then one that's also like in a back room, I'm pretty sure. We have like tons of instruments at our school. It's so cool.
Okay, well now you're just bragging about your school's music program.
Our programs at our school are just so like awesome. So
they're probably not as awesome as this private school in England.
Not.
Anyway, so
I always enjoy playing the timpanis. I want to throw that out there. Yeah.
Yes, that would be very fun. So anyway, they're kind of chatting. Nick's late for math, and we find out why, because they kind of.
Right, they were up chatting and making out.
That's right. So yeah, Charlie's the reason Nick's homework isn't done, essentially. So Charlie does help.
So Charlie helps him with his homework. Apparently, Charlie's way better at math than Nick is.
Even though he's a year under.
Even though he's a year under. And then as Charlie wanders over to sort of help out with the band, Tara.
Yeah.
Tara comes over. And she is the girl from the last book, but also the one that Nick had sort of kissed a few years earlier.
Yeah, when they were 13.
Were 13 years
13 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
So of course they were supposed to fall in love again.
It's pretty young
That's right.
age to kiss, man.
And in the last book, Tara did say to Nick, like, hey, you know, if you want to talk about any of this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
because she suspected a little bit of what was going on
Yeah.
with Charlie.
Yeah. But
She-
also like she's gay too, right?
Yeah,
So,
she's
like,
gay, but she offered to be kind of a support. I
Yes,
guess,
for
to
sure.
Nick. And so they get to talking a little bit. I think kind of along that lines, like, you know, he thinks back to the party and when she told him that she's gay, and he feels comfortable enough, kind of I think sensing that she's been in this kind of scenario possibly. So Nick tells Tara that he's going out with Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first person he's ever told.
And she's quite, you know, excited and ecstatic to be that first person to hear about it.
Yeah, and she asks him, like, you know, how does it feel to tell someone? And he, you know, he likes it. It says that it really does feel good to tell someone. You know, Tara's girlfriend Darcy shows up, and he tells her as well. You
And
know,
I loved her response there. We found another one.
yeah,
And I feel like that there is maybe an element of that amongst the LGBTQ high school community where like it's not so much like, oh, we found another one of us so much as it's like we found the one that we can embrace and bring into our safety net, right? Like
yeah. I mean,
we're so proud of you for being able to speak your truth, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, even with Harry, like, being the kind of homophobic villain in the first book, like, you know, we don't get a sense that there's really, like, overt homophobia in the school
Not really, no,
necessarily.
yeah.
But I think, you know, there's enough judgment out there, certainly probably in the, you know, in the Instagram and the DMs and, you know, that kind of online chat world, that I think just having that community of, hey, we found someone who's, you know, part of our group or who's going through some of the similar experiences. I think that feels good for everyone, not
Yeah.
just not just the new one.
And then my favorite part about this bit too is that there's a couple of boys that look over and they're like, he's scoring with 2 chicks.
Yeah. And then Tara has the line of like, why are straight people like this?
And then the girls also point out to Nick that he doesn't need to come out any faster than he's ready to. Which again, I'm really digging that that's kind of like the primary message of this volume. And I think it's one that's probably super important for a lot of kids to keep in mind, that they shouldn't feel pressured into coming out to anyone that they're not 100% comfortable doing that with yet.
Yeah, you bet. And also the part of that message as well of taking your time to figure things out.
Yeah.
That you don't have to and that you don't even really have to think about it either, right? Like you don't have to focus on figuring it out. There's no time limit. There's no you know, requisite that you know, by this birthday you need to have, you know, it's just, hey, take your time. Don't even think about it. Just see what happens. And there's no pressure. Even if you are, you know, kind of down that path of having figured things out, there's still no pressure to tell the world or to explain it to everyone.
You don't owe that side of yourself to anyone, and you're not obligated to share it until you are completely ready.
No, I feel weird because I came out in the middle of birthday cake cutting right after I blew out the candle. So I'm like, uh-oh.
Well, I mean, there's no wrong way to do it either, right? So
Exactly.
yeah.
I think there were like parents there who I didn't know at the same time as well. My friends were like, we should do it. And I was like, we should. That'd be fun. You're like, haha, teehee. Do it while we're trying to cut my cake.
It's like, happy birthday to me. I'm gay.
Ha! You know.
All right. And then Nick realizes he's late for math. So he's got to
super late.
Yeah.
super late. Yeah. He's got to jet off to math. So cut to the next scene where they're studying. And Nick's kind of now like doing kind of more the Charlie infatuation, like, you know, staring at him and like, oh, you know,
Yep.
you're cute and that kind of stuff. And then he does let Charlie know that he's told Tara, and, you know, Charlie's pretty excited, you know, that he's told someone. And yeah, it's just kind of like this additional step forward in their relationship, right? They're telling people now, and,
Yep.
and it's not a secret anymore, right? So it's a big step in the sense that, Nick clearly is now nothing like Ben. So yeah, big change there. And Charlie's super happy about it. Nick's very happy about it. And they get into another tickle fight.
With some making out.
Yeah.
And then Tori arrives.
Yeah. Suspicious Tori.
Suspicious Tori always just popping up there.
Yeah.
So Charlie gets up and catches her at the door and is like, she's like, I got the pen you wanted. And she's also like, good job.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like, well done.
Yeah.
I knew you could do it.
And there's no wink, but I feel like she probably would have winked.
There's an implied wink there.
Tori's a person who would wink at him.
Yeah. And now Nick's a little nervous because Tori caught them, and Charlie's like, don't worry, she'll keep it a secret.
And Tori's in Nick's year as well.
Yes.
Right? So
Is she? I thought she was at least a year older than.
No, I'm pretty sure she's in year 11.
No, I don't know. I don't actually know.
I think.
I'm pretty sure in the last book they were in the same year.
I actually think you're right. Which is
I am,
not
so.
very often. So. No, but in the next book when they go to Paris, she was allowed to come. She was still at school or whatever. I'm not sure if she was in year 12.
Does the Higgs school come on the trip as well?
Yeah, because Tara and Darcy.
Let's not talk about the next
Tara,
book.
Darcy, and
Let's finish talking about this book.
Yes, please. So Nick invites Charlie to come out with his friends the next weekend because they've now done the hangout with Charlie's friends, and so Nick is like, come hang out with me and my friends. We're gonna go to the movies. The
caveat here is that Harry is not supposed to be part of the group.
Harry's the big old jerk.
That's right. So that's Charlie's a bit nervous, but he agrees. And with the expectation that it's going to be a Harry-free evening,
yes.
Which we'll see what happens there. Tori comes back in. And they have a little conversation, that they're kind of dating, but she's concerned as well about
be careful.
Charlie going to hang out with Nick's friends because, I think she says she's been to parties with them and they're
not great people always. Yeah,
exactly.
And then it's Saturday for the hangout.
Yep, time for they're going to see a movie or something at the mall.
A horror movie, I'm pretty sure, actually.
Yep.
So even better.
Charlie's dad is dropping off at the movies, and you can tell that he's a bit nervous too. He's like, just let me know if anything happens, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I think for Charlie's dad, right, he still kind of remembers, even
totally.
though he doesn't know what happened at that party, right? Nick went to hang out,
happened.
Or Charlie went to hang out with Nick, and then, he called his dad in a panic. Pick me up, get me the heck out of here. And
exactly.
What happened with Nick? Oh, he was with his friends. Something happened, right? So he's concerned that Charlie, hanging out again with Nick's friends, something similar may happen.
But Charlie's like, it'll be fine. Nick's there. Everything's been good. When they get into the theater, though,
they're flirting. They are so flirting.
They are
with
flirting.
Each other.
Yes. But when they get in, they discover that Harry is there. In fact. Yeah. And
dun dun dun.
Yeah. But Charlie's like, I'm not going to let this intimidate me.
And Nick's so in love with him in that moment. There's a little heart over him.
Got to stand up for yourself, man.
Well, and then Harry kind of he razzes Nick a little bit, or is that maybe a bit later?
The
that's
major
after
razzing
the
comes later, yeah.
Yeah. But so some of Nick's friends that are identified in the book, Christian and Cy, that are some of the potentially supportive ones, and they're they engage with Charlie right away. They say hello, right? They're interested in getting to know Charlie, who is Nick's friend, and they seem to be definitely more in that mindset of what we saw from Charlie's friends of being accepting and wanting to get to know people and not having any judgments or anything like that. Just, hey, how's it going? They head off to the horror movie. Nick tells Charlie that he gets pretty scared pretty easy. And then Charlie says, "Oh, you can hold my hand if you want to," right? So they're still kind of flirty.
Yeah, they do some secretive hand holding in the dark there, as you do.
Yeah. They go get popcorn.
I would like to point out, just because, actually I cannot say why yet, but Charlie himself, they go to get popcorn and he's like, I'm not very hungry right now, and he's like, you get some though, and then Nick's like totally like, are you okay, are you nervous, all that.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Okay, we're talking about this book and not future books, guys.
Yeah.
So
I'm
come on.
sorry.
Volume 2 only. Anyway, yeah, so they do go into the theater. They do a little bit of hand holding.
Wait. Right before, right. Sorry. One more important.
Gotta have all the important cute
very
details.
important cute scene is when Nick calls Charlie Char,
Yeah.
being like a little affectionate, like he's worried. He's like, "You all right?" Like Char is like, "Seriously, Char, are you okay?" And he's like, "Char,
Oh my God.
Are we doing nicknames now?" He's like, "Oh my God, it was not that serious." And it's like, "Are you sure?" I feel like it was that serious.
And wasn't he like, I'll never call you that again? And he's like, you need to always call me that.
I'm like, "I'm never calling you it again." He's like, "I like it as kids." Like, no, never again. Never am I ever saying that again. And then it's them at the movie theater, and Nick and actually both of them are kind of jumping because it's a horror movie.
Yeah, of course.
Jump into each other's hands because, yes.
That's why
Another
you go
cliche.
That's why you go to the horror movie with the person you're hot for. So
Yeah, that's a classic date
Exactly,
move.
it's a
Go to the
classic
horror
move.
movie. You gotta cuddle up together for safety's sake, right?
Very
And
quiet there, aren't you?
and so then the movie ends, and they're still kind of flirting after, and this is where Harry
kind of
kinda-
dials it up.
Yeah, kind of starts being a jerk again.
It's like, what's it like to be gay, or what is it?
Do you like musicals?
Right.
How dare you? Okay. Of course I do, but like that's not the point.
That's not the point.
Hamilton's on top, guys.
So yeah, he kind of razzes Charlie
He doesn't
about
seem very gay.
and he asks Charlie like, do you like Nick? Like, do you think Nick's hot? And Charlie's like, oh,
He's not my type.
really my type.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, come on, you got a crush on him. And what did he say? Oh, you'd so jump on that dick. and then Nick kind of pushes
They've
him.
had enough.
Yeah, Nick's like, come on. And so he kind of leads Charlie away. Charlie has to go. His dad's there. And then Nick kind of returns to the group. Harry's kind of like, come on, we're not homophobic. But Nick's like, no, you're teasing people just to like make them feel bad. Like
Yeah.
you're not a good dude.
A little bit off topic here, but Harry is like so much shorter than the rest of his group. So much shorter, like by like 3 inches from like the next shortest person. So
You think his attitude is like compensating for his height? Is that where you're going with this?
yeah, he's just like a short little gremlin, like half the kids in my school.
He's like that. He's got that
so-
short guy syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah, you think he could just spend some money on lifts, but isn't he rich?
Yeah, he's like supposed to be on that Sweet 16 show. Isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's right. So,
but
and
then
I was gonna say Harry really escalates, right? So he starts into like
basically
does
says
it
you're protecting him because he's a pathetic little fag.
Yeah.
Is the line.
and that's what drives Nick kind of over the top. Nick is like,
And-
no, none of that. We're not slurring my boyfriend or my.
Punches him right in the face, which is 100% what you should do. I don't know why I felt guilty about it. Honestly, punch him in the face.
Punches him so hard that the panels explode.
Yes, they shatter into pieces.
And next thing we know, we're in the car with Nick and his mom.
And Nellie.
And Nellie's there. And Nick has got like a tissue to his nose. He's all bloodied up.
Got a black eye in there and everything.
Yeah.
And for how hard Nick was hitting Harry, we're kind of like, well, how is Nick roughed up? We have that question, or I did anyway. Like, well, how did Nick kind of lose that fight? Because he's got the bleeding nose, his eyes blackened. But we find out later what happened is that Nick felt bad about resorting to violence and kind of stopped, and then Harry just came after him.
Yeah. And his mom too is like, it's violence isn't the answer.
And then he swears in front of his mom, and she's like, language, like Nicholas.
And during
Full name, guys. Full name.
Oh yeah, of course, that's always a bad sign. There's something about this scene too where it felt to me like Nick was on the verge of confessing his relationship with Charlie to his mom. And again, that's where I think the art in this is so good that's all communicated non-verbally. It's all communicated through the facial art, the way they're looking, the dialogue itself, and it's like
the way the eyes are to the side.
Yeah, you feel what's going through Nick's head right there.
I think it's also because she says like he's a very special friend, isn't he? And then he's like,
exactly. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
More special than you know, Ma.
Yeah. Or that you maybe will find out at the end of the book. But they so they're back in bed here in their respective houses, and they are texting again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is again where Nick is, all dumping on his friends that they're all assholes, and he's not gonna be friends with them anymore or anything like that. Even though we've seen that there's potentially 3 friends that he has that are okay with the relationship with Charlie and that are supportive and accepting, not your typical rugby lads. But anyway, Nick's pretty upset, I think, in general at Harry, and the friend group seems to revolve around Harry. So I think that's why Nick is saying, I'm going to dump those assholes.
Yeah, exactly.
Never going to be friends with them again, or what have you.
And then there's a cute little montage of them like texting like all through their like routine and everything till they
getting ready for bed
until Charlie
and the whole
like
night
falls
and
asleep. And I think it says 1:27 in the morning on this film there.
So cute.
And then there's a little text after Charlie's fallen asleep. There's a text from Nick on his screen saying, "I'm gonna fall asleep." He's like, "Are you?" He's like saying, "Are you asleep?" And then there's one last one that says, "I'm gonna fall asleep too, but I just want you to know that you're the best. I'm going to kiss you a lot tomorrow." Heart emoji.
Well, that's the other thing is in this exchange and the texts, Nick basically asks Charlie out on a proper date.
Yes, proper date.
A
to
proper
the beach.
date.
Let's go to the beach, bitch.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't. He says it's going to be a surprise.
It's
so
going to be a surprise.
Charlie
We
doesn't
don't
know
it's the
that
beach
it's.
Yeah,
yet.
my bad.
Instead, let's go for a surprise, bitch.
Yeah.
So the next morning Charlie heads over to Nick's. Nick sort of confesses about the fight to Charlie.
Well, because Charlie notices there's a black eye and is like, "What happened?"
I walked into a door.
And then Charlie's all like, as much as like I hate like seeing you get beat up and like violence isn't a good thing, Harry really deserved like a proper punch to the face. And then he's like,
proper punch to the noggin,
and then Nick's like, "Oh, you're such a Slytherin," and Charlie's like, "And you're 100% Gryffindor, you little loser."
Okay, that got a little nerdy for me there once you get to the Harry Potter reference.
Ayla loves the Harry Potter, so that really got to her.
I tabbed that part.
Okay, so now they're heading out on the surprise date. So, Charlie's asking, "Can you tell me where we're going?" Nope, it's a surprise. They get on the bus, and he, he's never been that way before, and all of a sudden they hear some seagulls.
Wait, I'm trying to. Before it's in the show. This is a show thing. There's a panel where they're on the bus, and they're like, and he's like, "You gotta tell me where we're going." And then actually in the show, during that scene, they have like almost the exact same scene. They're on the bus, and he's like, "Where are we going?" And in the seat right across from them, Alice Oseman is actually there, like doodling, drawing probably some panels
Fun
about
cameo.
them. Yeah.
She should have drawn herself into the book.
Drawn herself into
that would have been
Only
good.
she thought of that.
So they get to the beach. They hear the seagulls, and they're at some kind of beach town. And
Probably Brighton Beach, I'm not going to lie to you.
And I mean, like, they're wearing jackets and sweaters, and there's nobody else on the beach, so it may still be kind of, well, but hardly. And Nellie's in the water.
Though, right?
It's England, yeah. So there's not too many other people around. Whether it's, I don't think it's a school day, but the beach is not very busy, so they have kind of this whole area to themselves, and they play in the water.
So we're playing in the water. They got Nellie there, of course.
We love Nellie.
So they splash in the water a bit. They go get ice cream. They do the photo booth thing.
Yeah, making out in the photo booth.
Photo booth.
Charlie's smiling the entire time, so praise for the dimples.
They praise for the dimples.
Yeah, all the dimples are tabbed.
Almost all the dimples.
And then they're back on the beach,
Just sort of chilling out,
relaxing, just like enjoying each other's company and being on a proper date with no judgment or none of their friends or people that may know them around. Right, they're kind of just really enjoying this kind of step that they've taken, right? Neither of them have really been on a proper date before.
And I guess there was a conversation prior to this where Nick said that he didn't want to hide things anymore because it's here that Charlie asks Nick if he was serious about that.
Yeah. They are also listening on the beach, like one little cute panel that for some reason I didn't tab. I'm not sure why.
Not cute enough.
It was for me, man. That says they're playing the song Still Together by Mac DeMarco, I'm pretty sure. I can't really tell. It's kind of blending in with the background of the phone.
Okay.
But that, and then they're like on the beach, super cute, sharing headphones as well, which is another cliche. So
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, they're hitting all the kind
All
of
those
cutesy dating kind of stuff. And then Charlie brings up what you were mentioning, Todd,
Yeah.
like that.
Are you serious about not wanting to hide things anymore?
Yeah.
And Nick says that he is, that he wants to be able to tell people about Charlie. And I think almost more importantly, he wants Charlie to be able to tell people about him. Oh, yeah. Nick does say that he's definitely a bisexual and he doesn't want to creep around anymore.
And then he goes on an entire tangent, goes into the water, and is yelling, "I like Charlie Spring in a romantic way, not just a friendship way."
Yes.
Yeah, there's some real declarations of liking each other, and then they actually kind of label things here. They're kind of like, "Wait, does this mean we're boyfriends?" And they're kind of like, "Yeah." And they another one of these.
That's
like,
another one. Now
why are we like this?
But even after the boyfriend one, he's got to run around again. This time I think he picks Charlie up in his arms and they're running around the beach.
We're boyfriends.
Yeah.
And then so we don't really see Charlie too much anymore. It flashes now to Nick getting home from the date and having a conversation with his mom. And this is pretty much I think the end of the book. Here's this conversation.
Yeah.
But I think buoyed by the success of the date and what they talked about, he feels comfortable to tell his mom.
Well, and that's the thing is like that. I think that's sort of where that conversation with Charlie came from. Is this? I'm ready to come out, and of course, my mom is going to be the first person I'm going to come out to. Probably was a nervous experience having that conversation. The whole like, what's she going to think? How's she going to react? Everything else, but that would be, I think, conceivably a place to start for a lot of people. Got to start with mom.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, there's definitely some panels over this book and the first book as well, where we get the impression that, Nick's mom is definitely onto it a little bit already.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a shock.
And I think she says as much, something like, I wondered.
I suspected, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, Mom, I'm bisexual. Do you know what that means? And she's like, yeah, I wasn't born in the 20s.
I know, that's so
like,
adorable, right? These 13, 14-year-old kids think they're discovering these things for the first time.
Yeah, like grown-ups don't have any idea about this kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
I feel like some don't though. Like I feel like that's something that's like a huge thing about, not really like just like gay, lesbian, bisexual. Like those three are like usually those, and like trans are like the main ones. But then like if you get into like any other like asexual or like any other like not as well known ones, that's when like not a ton of people really knows like what is that, and that's.
Yeah,
and
being a spectrum, right? Sexuality, like there's not necessarily a label for everything that everyone feels, but yeah,
and I get your point. Some
that,
of the further out in the spectrum, where you've got lesser people experiencing it, it takes longer for there to be a name for it, because it sort of takes longer for people to be aware it exists. Because I think for example, you mentioned asexual, which is something that I only kind of learned about in the last 5 to 10 years. That doesn't mean that they only existed in the last 5 to 10 years, but they've been welcome enough or felt, able enough to sort of start expressing their existence.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about there needs to be enough, people out there to kind of maybe garner a label. But yeah, I mean, not that we need labels per se, but certainly certainly when there's enough people experiencing a certain phenomenon or being aligned in a certain area of the spectrum, right, that putting a label on it, I think, as much as some people maybe don't like labels, I think it does help give some credence to and support to people experiencing that particular.
My position is I think we're all better without labels, But as long as we have to have labels, we have to make sure that we have enough for everyone. Right.
And so she's, Nick's mom is very supportive here. Obviously she suspected, she wasn't sure, but she's very happy that Nick's told her, and also feels sad that he was hesitant. She I think says that she's sorry if she ever made him feel like he couldn't tell her this. And I think, just into that theme that we've seen throughout this book about the acceptance, about there being people out there that, are ready to listen, and aren't going to be judgmental, that there are groups out there that are going to be supportive, whether it's friends, family, what have you. I mean, it's been a good theme throughout the whole book that those people exist and are out there, and, you can find them and access them. And that, that's something I think some people that are reading this book really need to hear.
And I think as much as this is a book that can convey to, say, someone like, who Nick is in this story, and convey that message of, you don't need to come out until you're ready. You do you sort of take your time. This is also like, reading these last few pages, this is kind of an example to parents out there. Like, parents, this is a good way to have this conversation with your child. Here's an example of a supportive parent interacting with their child in a supportive way. And if this is who you are trying to be, here is potentially, a rough guideline on how to go about doing that. Because I don't think, depending on the parent that you are, you may not come out immediately knowing how to be supportive. Maybe you were raised in a more conservative family that had, those sorts of values, and maybe you've deviated a little bit more to the liberal side of things, to the extent that you're willing to accept having a gay kid, but having never, been gay yourself or never been bisexual yourself, you may struggle to understand how to best have that conversation. Here's an example.
Yeah, no, that's it's a good blueprint, for any parents out there. And, I think the main thing is, if you love your child more than you love the, some of the system or systematic stuff that you were raised with, you're going to be supportive.
Yeah.
And this is a good way to, how do you have that initial conversation with your kid about this kind of stuff? If that's a conversation you need to have. And also for kids, it's a kind of example of, what to look for from a supportive parent, right?
For sure.
And if you're not getting that, then maybe your parent isn't the right person, right? Or if you don't think the conversation is going to go that way, then, maybe that's,
because there are unfortunately definitely times where people in that situation can't and shouldn't go to their parents with that information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the book finishes off with, so Nick is now, told his mom that he and Charlie are dating, and she tells him that
Charlie can't come.
He can't come on their summer vacation, and he's like, "Mom, his older brother got to bring his girlfriend on vacation once," and she's like, "Well, they were in university and living together or whatever." And he's like,
"It's different."
Yeah, it's different. So anyway, so Charlie won't be joining them on summer vacation. And then we also get a bonus little mini comic about Tara Jones and Darcy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Is that Darcy? I don't think that's Darcy.
Yeah, no, that's Darcy.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yeah, this is essentially how they first got together. Yeah,
sure, okay.
They get
you're right.
locked in the music room.
Okay, because I felt like because it ended with such a, we're not, like, I guess this must be maybe not quite a bit, but a bit earlier, because like it ends on sort of like a, oh my God, what did we just do kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the first time. I mean, they're kind of not enemies, but they're certainly not very friendly with each other when they get locked in the music room.
But there must be some kind of sexual tension there.
Yeah, I mean, there's one line.
The attraction, the banter or whatever.
There's one line that Tara says here about how, they're talking about, oh, I think you're annoying. You think I'm annoying, but she says, no, I just mean that you're just hard to not to notice or something like that. So it gives us that impression that Tara has definitely like had her eye on Darcy in a certain way, right? And then maybe she's frustrated because she can't act on it or thinks she can't. Anyway, they kind of get to fighting a little bit, or kind of tickle fighting, I guess, and they wind up on the floor. And Tara actually makes the first move and kisses Darcy.
Yeah.
And the teacher comes and unlocks the door, and there's time to catch the second half of the concert. And Tara's like, okay, right on. And then Darcy's just sitting there like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. Much more upbeat ending, I thought.
Mini art at the end, that's Nick carrying Charlie, and Nick's like, I can walk, and Nick's like, this is faster, don't worry.
But yeah, definitely more upbeat. I mean, the first book ended on a cliffhanger.
Pretty big cliffhanger, pretty big. Like,
and this one resolved quite a few things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's still questions about what's in the future for Nick and Charlie, but certainly we're at a much kind of nicer point here as far as resolution. Before we get into the third book, which is, I think, the school trip to Paris, right?
School trip to Paris.
Oh, wild. Okay.
It's so much fun, and it's season 2 of Heartstopper.
All right.
Private school in England, just a quick trip to Paris
with the little jaunt
with
to
the
Paris.
years 10 and 11.
I mean, it makes sense. How far, like, England?
Face the mic. Face the mic.
Just a quick drive through the channel.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, my school, like, my band teacher, he does stuff like this all the time, and like every other year he goes on huge trips. So he went to Montreal this year. He's been to like New Orleans before and all that, so I don't.
It's pronounced Nolans.
Yeah.
So anyway, the private school's going to Paris. All it's going to be probably fancy hotels and museums and real expensive trip. Yeah, they'll definitely go to the. But anyway, we've got a bit to look forward to as to how these guys get along on their first kind of trip abroad. One of the things that came up, and this is a throwback to the first book during the planning meeting, is that boys and girls will not be able to share rooms on the trip. It'll just be same sex. So
yes.
Now Nick and Charlie potentially are going to be able to share a room away from home, out of the country, on a romantic trip to Paris. So yeah, we'll see what there's a big setup here, I think, for book 3. So we'll see what happens.
Right. Yeah. And my prediction for book 3 was that it was going to, in much the same way that like the first book was about Nick kind of struggling with what he was feeling, and this one is with Nick struggling with when to come out. My guess was that the third book was going to be about like the struggle of coming out, like what happens.
Well, and the fallout as far as from their friends and family and outsiders and that kind of thing.
I was thinking mostly amongst the peer group, the friends and things like that.
It is so hard not to say anything.
I bet it is. I bet it is. So, but thank you for not. Thank you.
Ayla's already spoiled a few things for me, but I'm still looking forward to seeing this because we're definitely at stage 3 of the broader world finding out, or the bigger peer group.
Yeah.
So not just the close friends and family. This is now, and in the show, there's more kind of backstory for Tara and Darcy, and more fallout from, she posts on Instagram, oh, I've got a girlfriend, and there's a bunch of fallout from that in the TV show, and so. How does that affect Tara and Darcy? They both react to it differently. Darcy kind of embraces the reactions from people, and it doesn't really faze her. But there's obviously negative feedback that the girls receive after kind of coming out to their school. And so I'm curious in book 3 if we'll maybe see some of that, really more aimed at Nick and Charlie. And I guess the Parisians are maybe not as understanding either. So we'll see how that dynamic plays into
the
it.
City of love.
Yeah, I guess only straight love. I don't know. We'll see.
Also, not so much of a spoiler as more as just letting you know, you will get to see Nick's family more in like the third, maybe more the fourth book.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
that will be fun. Hopefully.
Right on. Okay. Well, that is Heartstopper Volume 2. So our next episode, we're going to delve into Volume 3.
Wait. Oh. Did we talk about the Back to the Future thing?
We did not talk about the
Back to the Future thing. Wait. So in the previous book, there's a panel where they're watching a movie.
Well, in the previous podcast, because we did reference it, but we weren't sure, right?
We weren't 100% sure. There's a panel, and I pointed out that it looked like Marty McFly, and his girlfriend, and they were like, they shared a kiss, and that's like the entire hand holding scene, or almost hand holding. And I pointed out that it looked like Back to the Future, but I wasn't sure. And if you actually flip back a page, there is a panel where, like, right before they kiss, where they're talking, and it kind of zooms out of the TV a little bit more, and you can see on, like, the TV stand, there's the Back to the Future, like,
DVD box or video box, yeah.
That says Back to the Future on it, with, like, Doc and the little tire lines and everything. So we were 100% correct
right
on the Back to the Future stuff.
Wow.
All
Good
right.
job, us.
Big pat on the back for us being able to spot a movie.
Based on a pretty loosely drawn,
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely. I don't think the panel was drawn to be anywhere near
it's
kind
not
of copyright
no,
infringement kind of.
I mean, Alice Oseman definitely caught it because we recognized it, even without seeing the DVD box there. So bravo.
That's right. But yeah, so for our next podcast, we're gonna focus on volume 3.
Yep.
And I think after that we'll kind of do a wrap up.
We'll do a live wrap up,
just kind of that first section of books, the first 3. And as we mentioned at the top of this episode, we'll kind of wait for the other 3 to be ready
and then
before
probably
we
come back.
Revisit that. Yeah. If anyone, if we have listeners that have questions or concerns or things like that, or are looking for resources and or dealing with any of this stuff, right? Feel free to write into the show and
you can email us at bandthingshappened@gmail.com. Would love to hear your thoughts or questions, anything you'd like to hear us discuss in future episodes. Was also thinking, this was my idea today. If you want to get in on the go read a fucking book action, why not record yourself saying it, and we'll use your version of it at the end of an upcoming episode.
That's right. I mean, I certainly haven't been doing a great job of really nailing this line, so we could outsource this
and get everybody
users
in on it,
to all our listeners, if you've got any kind of voice recording or even just a voice note, if you want to give it a shot and say, I can do this better than he can.
Exactly.
You're probably right.
Come show Pete how it's done.
Exactly. But I guess for today, for this episode, I'll bring it home. So
are we wrapping it up here, or are we about done?
I think we're ready to wrap it up, right?
Okay.
We've got it. I think we've got it locked in for today.
I think so.
Why don't you kick it off, Todd?
Sure. I'll just do sort of the final wrap up here. Thanks everybody for listening. Like I said, you can email us at bandthingshappen@gmail.com. You can also find all of our links at blahblahblahmedia.com. You can find the podcast episodes there. You can find links to our Facebook, as well as links to our GoFundMe. Not GoFundMe, what am I talking about? Our Patreon and our Buy Me a Coffee if you want to support us financially. That's about that. Oh, and our merch. You can go get yourself a Go Read a Fucking Book hat, throw pillow, shirt, stickers.
That's right. Else. Yeah. Todd's got a fabulous hat.
I'm sporting the hat today.
It says the line that I'm going to try to not mess up.
Yeah.
And there's stickers, and I know I got myself a nice shirt that I wear to my kids' things, and I kind of go, maybe I shouldn't be wearing this to the kids' activities, but lots of kind of neat stuff on the merch page, as well as merch from Todd's other podcast.
Some stuff from
Half-Cut Conspiracy Theories.
Conspiracies as well.
Yeah.
And one of these days, I've been planning on putting out like a kid-friendly version of the Go Read a Fucking Book, but like do Go Read a Frickin' Book, so that you can like dress your toddler with the
we should get onesies, like baby onesies.
Exactly, baby onesies.
That's right.
That go read a frickin' book or something like that.
Go read a book with words.
I tried to argue with my kid that technically this is kid friendly because it blurs out there's an asterisk in place of the U, so it doesn't actually have the bad word on it. But my kid disagreed with me. So
I mean, we're in that age where kids have heard these things and they obviously they can figure out what it says.
The arbitrary for my kid is like, can I say it at school?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I was like, well, I could say it at school. He's like, well, that's different, Dad.
In fact, I'm going to call your principal right now and yell at him.
Hey, principal, go read a fucking book.
That's
Hang
right.
up on him. All right. So I've been Todd Sullivan.
I've been Peter Ammon.
I've been Ayla Aman.
And until next time,
go read a fucking book.